My name is Thomas Sabag, and today I'd like to share with you the story behind LSports, a company that took an unconventional path in the startups world. LSports is a fully bootstrapped company. That means no external funding, no venture capital, just sustainable growth built on real revenue from day one. We're also based in Ashkelon, which is a small city in southern Israel, far from the country's high-tech hub centered around Tel Aviv. And while the majority of Israel's high-tech scene was thriving in the center, we were building something else on the periphery. In the next 20 minutes, I'll share with you how we evolved from a company running on outdated on-premise infrastructure with limited access to data into a modern data-driven product-led organization, and how technologies like Apache Iceberg and Databricks played a key role in enabling this transformation. This is a story about turning constraints into opportunities and how the right tools and mindset can reshape the future of a company. So before we dive into the LSports story, just a quick intro about me. I'm Tomer Sabag, Director of Platform Engineering at LSports. I've been in the Israeli startup scene for over 12 years, working across everything from small teams to mid-sized companies. My background is mostly back-end engineering and data engineering, and over the years I've had the chance to lead a bunch of awesome teams. These days I wear the platform hat, which basically means I sit somewhere between DevOps, data, and infrastructure, and helping the business run smoothly. That mix of tech and business is what gives me a pretty good seat at the table for the story I'm about to tell you. So, the story of LSports starts with Idol Azar. Back in 2012, Ido had just finished his army service as a programmer and was back in Ashkelon. Ido is looking to build something interesting. He noticed his friends were placing bets on local sports at a nearby cafe, and it made him think big. Real-time betting plus the internet equals opportunity. So he does what any good hacker would do. He builds a scraping machine that pulls data from two major sports websites. He writes some code, stitches it all together, and ships it from a good old Windows virtual machine. No GPT, no Kubernetes, no Docker, just good old days raw development. The result, a system that could tell any bookie almost in real time how the market was settled. For example, Pacers versus Thunder, final match score, would get a settlement home team wins. He signs a few bookies and it starts to deliver real value. Realizing he can't do it all alone, he brings on his dad, Shaul, as chief executive officer, and his older brother, Dotan, as chief operational officer, so he can focus on tech. It takes them 2 years to start making money and pay salaries, and eventually they bootstrap their way into a 30-person company in Ashkelon, and life is good. In 2015, with 10 paying customers and 20 scraped websites, the three family members understand that it's time to move to the next step, become a cloud-based company, and leave the service room. They pick AWS as cloud provider, they sign a 5-year deal, and get the on-prem setup out of Ashkelon as fast as possible. To get the transition done, they spin up a DevOps team, they build an IT team, and move everything to the cloud. Suddenly, we can push new code faster, we can release updates more often, and scale up whenever new deal ends. Things are looking good, but of course, this is just the beginning. Fast forward a few years to 2021, a major change in the management takes place. Dotan steps in as CEO, a role he still holds today. Dotan takes the reins from his father with a big vision: scale things up, build the best company he can, and not less important, prove that Ashkelon can have a tech scene just as cool as Tel Aviv's. Dotan realized something important. We're not just a tech company, we're a data company. And if data is our product, we better be using it ourselves. So he does what every forward-thinking CEO would do, right? He brings in a chief data officer and kicks off a proper data department. Soon enough, they come knocking on our door, the R&D, asking for a setup that can handle massive amounts of data, update itself automatically, run complex queries, and power dashboards that actually tell us what's going on. So we picked something that was quick to set up and got the job done, AWS Redshift. Suddenly, for the first time, we had a big data warehouse. We finally had a centralized view of the business. We had reliable, scheduled batching data pipelines. We started using the medallion architecture with data engineers building their ETLs from bronze layer to silver layer to gold layer, and machine learning engineers using the Godlers for the machine learning models, for the pre-processing and preparations. Our BI department created a bunch of dashboards that gave us insights about our products, our customers, and the usage, our data integrity, and our speed. We could pinpoint specific areas in our system that became bottlenecks or that weren't stable enough. We even exposed some of these dashboards directly to our customers so they could analyze where they make or lose money, what leagues or regions are more profitable, what data providers are more reliable, and so on. This is how we built it. We developed our own batch processing component, consuming data from Kafka and from Amazon RDS change data capture. Our component sent the messages to Firehose. Firehose wrote it in temporary S3 bucket, and eventually invoked a copy command on Redshift to pull the data from the bucket into Redshift. Then we had Spark glue jobs that built the silver and the gold layers based on Redshift, and SageMaker models using the data from the gold layer in Redshift for the model pre-preparations and processing. So now that we had visibility and dashboards in place, Dotan, as always, wanted to push further. He wasn't just thinking about dashboards anymore. He wanted us to build smarter and faster, develop machine learning models quicker, personalize the product in real time, store more data, and actually use it, not just for analytics, but for live applicative features. During 2022, the company enters a hyper-growth stage. We acquire StatsCore, a Polish sports data provider, to extend our coverage and personalization capabilities. Dozens of new customers are onboarded every quarter. We had more sport types, leagues, and statistics. And that's where Redshift starts to hit its limits. Performance became a daily headache. Dashboards were slow to load, and some just got timed out because of AWS 30 seconds API gateway cap. We tried everything, remodeling, adding automated and scheduled vacuums. Nothing really helped. It got to a point where our head of DevOps had to run manual vacuums twice a week. True story. Costs were another big blocker. Redshift couples storage and compute. So as the amount of data grew, we had to pay for compute as well. Not to mention the fact that Firehose actually saves the data twice, both in the temporary S3 bucket and in Redshift. That forced us to limit what data we retained just to stay under budget. We also felt the dev overhead, managing partitions manually, handling schema evolution ourselves, trying to optimize performance at the SQL level. Maintaining our batch processing component wasted a lot of time for us as well, due to Firehose limitation of 1 megabyte per message. Deploying new machine learning model took us more than 6 months. Much of this time spent on technical issues and unreliable data. It all took time away from the actual product work. And on top of all of this, there was the vendor lock-in trap. Moving to something else meant rewriting everything. And the more we built, the harder it was to change. We had hit the ceiling. Redshift got us going, but we needed something else that could scale with our ambitions. We knew it was time for a change. Our R&D team, packed with insanely talented engineers who love open source and are always exploring new technologies, kicked off the search for a better solution. We weren't just looking for another warehouse. We wanted something modern, open, and built to scale with us. We also wanted to serve models live from fresh data, and Redshift just couldn't support this kind of latency and flexibility. That's when we came across Apache Iceberg. It felt like the missing piece. A modern table format, built for big data, with support for schema evolution, time travel, partition pruning, and most importantly, full decoupling of storage and compute. We could keep everything in S3 and decide later how and where to query it with Spark, Twin, or Flink, or even Snowflake. It gave us the freedom to move fast, experiment, and scale. To avoid managing catalogs and metadata ourselves, we partnered with Tabular, founded by Iceberg's original creators. It gave us a production-grade Iceberg catalog management with access control, audit logs, and full transparency, all as a managed service. This was our architecture. We developed an Azure DevOps pipeline to configure the topics and the data we wanted to save in Iceberg, as well as the warehouses, databases, tables, and schemas we wanted. This pipeline installed Kafka Connect, a data consumption component on our Kubernetes cluster. Kafka Connect consumes the data from our operational topics, authenticate with Tabular, and save the data in Iceberg. Then on the read side, we used Apache Spark glue jobs to build the silver and the gold layers, and Snowflake on the BI side to query from Iceberg. Both were authenticating and discovering the catalog using Tabular. Meanwhile, on the business side, things kept looking very good. In 2023, our annual recurring revenue more than tripled itself, and the company grew to over 250 employees by early 2024. We became one of the largest sports real-time data providers in the world, with over 1 billion daily records for more than 60 sport types. With such a large volume of data, we were able to develop complex machine learning models. For example, models that determine which providers can be trusted in real time for specific events, or others that identify the correct mapping for players and teams based on some properties. We developed more products, such as our Sports Expert Chat, an LLM agent that can answer users' questions in real time regarding odds, statistics, and predictions. Let's just say that board meetings, also known as Lazar Family Friday dinners in Ashkelon, were very happy meetings. So just when we thought we had reached stability with our Iceberg setup, we had hit a new turning point. Dotan, as always, kept pushing for scale and cost efficiency. Our annual cloud bill exploded with our new scale and needs, but AWS wasn't playing ball. They didn't offer the discount we expected. So we made a bold move. We signed a 5-year strategic deal with GCP, and a year ago we began a full cloud migration. Not many companies I know migrate completely from one cloud provider to the other, but at this point in our story, you should not be surprised by any decision Dotan makes. GCP also aligned better with our AI and data roadmap and gave us tighter integration with Databricks services, a clear advantage over AWS. And just as we kicked that off, another curveball came in. Tabular was acquired by Databricks. Congratulations, guys, if you're here. Now, we like Tabular a lot, but the moment the roadmap started shifting and the features we were counting on started disappearing, we knew we needed to reevaluate. So we had this rare window: new cloud, new decisions, new freedom. Instead of just lifting and shifting what we had, we saw it as a chance to pick the best possible platform for what we wanted to build next. We needed a platform that could support all our data needs, from basic manual data exploration to data engineering ETL pipelines and fully observable self-service MLOps. That's how Databricks entered the picture, not just as a successor to Redshift or Iceberg, but as a unified platform to run our entire data strategy. This is our current implementation with Databricks. So we decided with Databricks architects to develop our own ingestor job. We leverage Pulumi, an infrastructure as code tool, and we use it inside the pipeline we developed to access Databricks and run updates. This pipeline makes the necessary changes to the schema, for example, tables creation. And it also updates the catalog and the access layer, roles and permissions, and so on. This pipeline also installs the ingestor job, which is running on our own compute engine instances. The ingestor ingests the bronze layer using schema management for Kafka topics and Iceberg's automated schema evolution for CDC. A very important decision we made was to ingest the data and to generate both Iceberg and Delta Lake metadata files and manifests. So the data is saved once, but since it has both types of metadata, it can be queried using both formats. Then on the read side, we're using Trino and Snowflake and Databricks built-in Spark to query the data. And this is where we are now in our story, happily onboarded on Databricks. So one of the first things we noticed while moving to Databricks was the level of support. Not just a ticketing system. We had direct access to Databricks solution architects. These were real engineers sitting with our team, helping us plan architecture decisions, review implementation, and avoid common pitfalls before they happen. That technical partnership made a huge difference for us during the migration. Thank you, Michael. Beyond the support, Databricks brought something we were missing: a unified platform. Instead of stitching together Spark, Glue, a BI tool, and another machine learning stack, now we had one place where everything could happen. That immediately reduced overhead and made cross-team collaboration much smoother. The learning curve became shorter too. New engineers could ramp up faster. And a single developer could now go from raw data to production-grade pipeline without switching tools or waiting on other teams. We also gained true end-to-end ownership. A single person could now ingest, transform, analyze, model, and deploy, all in one environment with full visibility across the pipeline. And from an operational perspective, observability improved dramatically. You can view code, graphs, logs, error traces, lineage, and job status, all in the same UI. It's easier to debug, easier to monitor, and easier to maintain. Finally, Databricks gave us first-class MLOps with native tools for model versioning, training pipelines, and deployment workflows. And just to clarify, we didn't throw Iceberg away. The fact that Databricks allows us to reuse the same underlying data with dual metadata layers made it easier for us to make the transition. Today, some teams like BI continue to query via Iceberg, while others use Delta Lake. This capability lets us migrate and evolve at our own pace without creating siloed teams or breaking compatibility between them. So for us, moving to Databricks wasn't just a stack replacement, it was an extreme acceleration. If there's one thing we've learned, is that your data stack must evolve with your company, not the other way around. We started as a small scrapey team in Ashkelon, hacking together value from Windows virtual machines and scrapers. From there, we moved to Redshift, Iceberg, and Databricks, each step reflecting not just better tech, but a deeper understanding of who we are and what we need. Redshift gave us visibility. Iceberg gave us flexibility, but Databricks gave us speed and scale. The real takeaway: don't chase trends. Build what fits your current and future growth stage. Use open standards to stay adaptable. Choose platforms that scale with your teams, not just your data. And above all, remember that data architecture is business architecture. The strongest stack is the one that empowers developers, analysts, and product owners to move fast, work together, and make decisions based on a shared truth. This is how we turned a betting scraper in Ashkelon into a global data-driven company. And the journey is not over yet. And Dotan, if you're wondering, he continues to push boundaries, working hard every day to turn the dream into reality, taking LSports public and driving us forward with the same vision that brought us here. Thank you very much.